my family, my mum and dad, I remember, were quite nervous because they were like, we don't know anything about it, but we know it's a difficult career. So so I remember my mum saying,
well, they got that right.
Yeah, I remember my mum saying, you're going to have to work your butt off.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Ballet Nights podcast. Today's guest is a multi-award winning choreographer, filmmaker and director, currently dancing with Studio Wayne McGregor, has danced previously with Alexander Whitley Dance Company and Michael Clark Company, and more recently has been working on screen for Disney's The Marvels film coming soon. Welcome to the podcast, Jordan James Bridge.
In the flesh.
In the flesh. Jordan, how are you right now?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. Yeah? This is quite wild.
It is pretty wild.
But it's great.
I mean, we've been talking about this for quite a while as well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, not podcasting, but just, I don't know, doing things in dance and around dance that maybe didn't feel within reach for us,
right,
and
absolutely.
are now actually happening so quickly. We're just going to pretend it's normal. We'll just, we'll just keep going with it. So, I think most importantly for our viewers to understand, outside of you being a really exciting choreographer and all of that, important to me, important to those invested in Ballet Nights, you're actually one of the first artists that came to me after the concept show. So in October 2021, we launched our concept. How did you kind of hear about it, and what made you decide to kind of say, right, I need to get on Jamiel's case straight away, basically?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I feel like there's so many people in the dance world, but yet it's so small. Like we all kind of know each other in some way, shape or form, or know someone that knows someone, right?
Yeah.
So, I saw Ballet Nights through socials. I feel like that's where you see it a lot nowadays, right?
We'll get to that.
Yeah, and I saw Daniel Davidson, I saw Hannah Rudd, I saw Luke Armit, and they were all doing something for you. And I just thought it was a fantastic opportunity to be able to perform, but also create. And that's kind of the trajectory that I was going on. I'm still dancing at the moment, and, I'm choreographing alongside that, and I've been doing that for a few years. But that's kind of exciting opportunities to be able to either choreograph on someone else or choreograph a solo on yourself, and have the opportunity to be able to perform.
Yeah, I mean, well, outside of all of that, there's how I know you as well. And I thought I knew you, on paper, then meeting you and having a chat.
Knew me on paper.
Yeah, well, yeah, in the rags. I was reading about you. No, but the thing that genuinely changed the way I see dance was watching you move. So those of our listeners and viewers that maybe haven't seen you dance, over a 15-year career and training and whatever, you see a lot. I've never seen anyone move the way you move. I've never seen anyone create the shapes and the sort of weird geometry experiences that your body can,
that. Thank you.
Oozing out. Well, I appreciate it too when I get to watch. And I know a lot of our listeners that are involved in the various other things that you do appreciate it too. You're definitely someone to learn from. But that being said, you don't have the most usual route into dance, when you started, etc. Could you tell us about how did you get where you are, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. I find a lot of people start when they're young, right? It's almost like parents put them into dance, right?
Send them away in a box.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, it's an extracurricular activity, it's like what they want their kids to keep fit as well. It's something that they want their kids to do. But for me, it was very different. I was that snotty-nosed kid running around the fields, when I was a child, and I was playing on bikes and falling off and injuring myself, and, playing games consoles, which I still like to do.
Yeah, I mean, we connected over that, didn't we? I mean, we did do some video games. We kind of out-nerded each other on many occasions.
But it's I started dancing when I was like 14, and I went to Fred Longworth High School in Tyldesley, back in around a 15-minute drive outside of Manchester, where I'm from.
Right.
And luckily, it was a performing arts high school, and there was this amazing teacher, Keely Slack, and part of the curriculum, the boys had to do 2 classes in dance to see if they wanted to take it as an option when you're taking your GCSEs. And she was like, you can move. And obviously I didn't know what that meant at all, but she was like, you can move and you need to come back without everybody else here. And I was like, yeah, whatever, whatever. And then I thought about it, and I was like, well, I did actually enjoy it. I enjoyed to move my body. So I went back like a week later, or 2 weeks later or something like that. And I joined in with the girls' class, and it was literally like I just fell in love with the art form, you know. And obviously this is very simple dance, you know, like I suppose introductory to dance, contemporary dance.
And you'd never done anything, no ballet, nothing before that?
No, I started ballet when I was 16 when I went to Pendleton College in Salford. Yeah, and that was quite difficult actually, because after I finished my GCSEs and I went to college, and I decided to do BTEC and A-level together, because my mum and dad at first, I remember them going, "What? You want to dance?" You know, like it was really confusing for them. Like, we've got a massive extended family and I'm like the only dancer in the family. So
it was probably confusing for your close circle of friends as well. I guess if you were, you said you were on bikes, and I mean, I know you personally, and I know that you're pretty hardcore. That most of the things you're doing, I'd be worried about my nails. So, like, with your friend group, how did they kind of react to this?
Yeah, they thought it was really strange, you know. But then I suppose, when you have a really close circle of friends, like they just accept you doing whatever you want, you know.
Yeah, well, in theory.
Well, you think
theoretically.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, dance now is probably more widely available than it was when I was growing up. So, which was probably when you were growing up. I guess it's not huge.
Well,
we won't get into ages on.
No, I mean,
this,
like, you know, public school. Obviously, you have people that are trying to bully you, but and what I feel like that was always
brilliant.
happening,
I love that. And what we'll be getting that,
you know,
on a t-shirt. So that's I mean, if we fast forward to now, you dance with Studio Wayne McGregor.
Yes.
You honestly do set a precedent when you come in the room. I think you've got such a unique understanding of different geometries, and although ballet is often talked about as the base of everything, I think actually it's a geometry. It's an understanding of all the shapes that, you know, make these different expressions in the room. You found your way to that in a different way, which calls into question the phrase, I would say, overall. But then on top of that, you're now choreographing. So how did that begin? Where's that taken you? What journey are we on?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned like this understanding with ballet, and it's like shape and coordination and understanding, right, within the space. And why I'm choreographing is because I love to explore the body, right? I do love collaboration, you know. Obviously, it can be easier at times, like depending. I feel like funding's always an issue and trying to find the money to make things work. But collaboration is massive to me. I think it's fantastic. It's where like worlds can collide and create fantastic art.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll come back to the funding bit, but digging into that a bit deeper. I know here at the Lantern Studio Theatre, obviously we have a CCTV system.
Right.
So, you know, we have Hofesh in here, we've had Akram in here, we've seen all of them work. You're one of the first artists where members of the team here, who I've known my whole life, are coming up to me and saying, what are they doing in there? What's going on? You know, it's always like, there's something quite alien about it. So how do you find your way into that work? And why does it look so unusual from the outside for someone that maybe is expecting, I don't know, someone at the front of the room setting, or, you know?
Well, that's the thing, I suppose, when it comes to like me teaching a solo or doing rep or anything like that, I would set something, but there's something I think really special about all the bodies in the room that are so different. You know, as humans, we've got different DNA, you know, we're very different. So we're, you know, if we're learning ballet, it's specified steps, but we've all got a different body. So then my practice is, what I love to do is guided improv, and I love to offer tools to dancers to hopefully give them a deeper understanding of how to put their body and insert it in a different way. That is kind of like what I enjoy to do, and it's interesting to work with dancers that have come from a ballet background, you know, and seeing them talk to me, because I always have a tool. They cross the floor, they circle around, they cross the floor, and when I speak to them about it, and each tool will be very different, because some are more physically engaged, you know, and it's kind of aggressive, and that's difficult to make a dancer push for a long period of time. And you know, so and something simple, like for instance, if I go cross the floor, geometry and lines, contemporary dancers don't want to do that.
Right, okay.
They end up almost like looking like they're doing a yoga class, Warrior 1 and Warrior 2, coming across the floor, right? They find it really alien. And then I go, okay, circles, spirals, contortion and twists, right? Anything other than geometry in line form, yeah?
Yeah.
and then they're obsessed with it, and it's like what they know, and it's because it's their typical bias. It's how we like to move, right?
Yeah.
So my aim is to make sure that they're unlocking these doors where they're like, if you set a task and you follow it through and you go through with it, you practice makes perfect, right? I think it's something like you have to practice something 3,000 times to understand it within the body. So it's like if they've not had the experience to do this, I'm giving them tools to hopefully create other avenues so they can understand that they can be a super versatile dancer. Because I do believe, like when you said, oh, so why, you've never seen someone move like me, right? I do believe that's what makes what I do a little bit, I suppose, fresh in a sense. You know, the companies that I've danced for, quite different. I've done modern ballet stuff. I've done very contemporary stuff.
Yeah.
I do my own guided improv stuff. I used to do voguing. I used to do whacking a little bit, you know, on the side.
Used to, or it comes out every now and then?
Right, if I want to. If I want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
you
may,
know,
I may have seen a whisper every now and then.
Well, you know, like, I feel like it's all encompassing. I remember when dancers used to, when I trained at London Contemporary Dance School years ago, I know the dancers would look at me when I was doing these things and almost like laugh at it. And in my mind, I've always known, I was like, well, I'm learning, whether it fits to a contemporary umbrella, everything you learn, absolutely everything that's to do with your tool, which is your instrument, your body, it's worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, there's another big word in there as well, which is the word, in one of my former companies I used to work with, there was the word improv, basically. And some of my
People
dancers
are really
used
scared.
Well, no, some of my dancers used to say to me, oh, Jamiel, he hates improv, he doesn't like improv. I'm just settling this now. Now I have a podcast platform, we're just going to get it out there. Of course, I love improv. And I'd say one of the greatest improvisation teachers for me, in terms of talking about how it's structured, was Hope Muir, who's now the director of National Ballet Canada.
Right.
But the thing about the improv that I like, the one I'm drawn to, is structured improv.
Right.
So in a lot of yeah, exactly. But also, you know, even if you're told, give me 5 minutes of something, there's a technique that you can put in, you know, there's whether it's words prompting you or something.
Absolutely. Words of association.
Right. Well, you're seeing more and more dancers as well apply to be in your things or to be in your works. I'm taking a lot of CVs all the time. When I'm looking at these, and this is something we talk about with the dancers, that we've been together in workshops, coaching and mentoring, how do we, in that improvisation, land some of the important things that, you know, not just an employer, but a creative kind of needs to see, you know, what is the tool and texture, as you put it, that you're working with? Can that texture be turned? Can it be heavy? Can it be light? Can it be, how do we demonstrate all of those in an improv? And I'm not saying every improv needs to be demonstrating everything, sort of like a so you think you can dance off type thing,
Plethora
and step up the streets improv edition. But do you know what I mean? Like, how do you feel with improv? What's the improv that you're drawn to most?
Honestly, anything that gets the body moving differently. I think it's not something specific. Like sometimes I will come in and I'll do a workshop and the whole session that's improv will be based on layers of music and teaching dancers how to listen, because, you know, there's nothing more satisfying than watching dancers either choose to juxtapose music, and there's music, you know, that's super detailed in the background, and then you're choosing to do something that's very different to that. Or if you go with the music and you hear it and it's like your body is the instrument that you can hear, right? But then that's like one portion of it. It's like one segment of improv, you know? But in terms of like having the body move, I think just different tools and different, like you said, words of association. I think it's a really big thing that gives people a better understanding that they can put their bodies into new understandings and new ways of moving. There's I feel like as dancers, because you start pretty much with technical training, everything's technique, everything's to get your body kind of working in a type of way. But when people come into my sessions, I'm obsessed with them eradicating that understanding. Believe that your body, that you've trained over the years, will save you, right? But throw your body in a different understanding, and don't think about steps. Just go with the task.
It just strikes me like, you know, the dancer in me currently, what's the word? Put on ice, to be continued. Who knows?
Make a comeback.
You know, something that Stephen McRae said recently to me was that he didn't know he could get paid. He didn't know you could do this as a job. And growing up, you know, I was in a situation where I'd lost my father, and I was looking for how was I going to fill my days? How was I going to not distract myself, but how was I going to experience this life the way that I wanted to do it? And I remember while everyone was seeing the timetable of dance and whatever, I mean, I was terrible with the timetable, I was late to things and things like this, but it was, I wanted to feel in each class an experience. And I actually only realised, you know, probably almost too late, luckily just in time, about 17, 18, oh, this is something you can do as an employment, as a job. I think we'll come back to like choreographically what's going out there for you at the moment, but there's a difference between feeling making work and getting work made. And I know for you, that's one of the challenges right now. So yeah, talk to us a bit about that.
Yes, it's yeah. I feel like I've had you know, commission opportunities over the last few years that I've really benefited from. I do find in this current dance ecology where there's no money in the arts, it's quite difficult to make new work as someone that's not already in the industry as a choreographer in the way that I want to be yet.
Yeah.
So the opportunities that I have been given, it's very much little amount of money and maybe working on a solo or a duet. It's very, very difficult to work with a big number of dancers. And that's, you know, I just recently did a creation on Elmhurst Ballet Company and through Studio Wayne McGregor. It was a commission through them that they gave to me. And working with 14 dancers, it was just great because then the tasks that I use when creating, well, they're very different, right? Because now all of a sudden I've got multiple groups working on the same task, but we're working in trios or quartets. So I've got, 3 or 4 trios or quartets that are very different, that are based on a task that I've set them and created.
So at the moment with your work, it's not common, are you saying, to find it in groups, basically?
Well, I think
out there in the wild, on the plains. There's lots of solo Jordans and duets, but there's not many big group numbers.
Absolutely. Right. So like I'm trying to find you know, funding or, you know, for Jordan Bridge Dance as well, to set up something where I can create for multiple dancers and create a longer piece. Yeah. I feel like pas de deux I've created, solos I've created, but it's all kind of smaller things. You know? Yeah,
I think making the work, like, I would love to live in the place of making the work all the time. I mean, for the last couple of years, that's kind of where it was at. And then I realized that, you know, to do what you're saying, the ambition, getting the work made is where a lot of the work in this current ecology, this current climate needs to be done. It's a really hard thing. It's a really hard circle to square, square to circle, some shapes. You know, dance, as many people do, or some people don't realize, takes so much energy in the front end, you know, daily class, full days of rehearsal, the time it takes to get... It's a lot. Yeah, and the vision you've got to get out as well. But then on the other side, how do you then recoup that so that everyone's doing it as a job? And there's ticket sales, which is, you know, the touch and go, will it sell, won't it sell? And there's some places that will always sell. But at this stage for you, what are those other places you can look? And you seem to have found your way naturally to screen. So some of your work, even though it's still not in a group, has found its way to films, right? Could you talk to us about those kind of experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in screen dance. I was the first year at London Contemporary Dance School in 2013 to 14, where they introduced video collaboration, and I was a choreographer for that. So it was the first opportunity that we got to choreograph for screen for that school. I think it's still an ongoing thing now. They have music collaborations, design collaborations, and video collaborations. And I was the first year, and this was with London South Bank University, and I was collaborating with a videographer.
And you had, just so the audience is clear, like you had dance control, but you weren't dealing with the camera, or you were suggesting, or
he was more a cinematographer and I kind of directed as well. But
right. It sounds like how it would go. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I suppose if you have a vision and you know how you want it to be captured, they'll know what they're doing. You know, I didn't understand the tech, but I don't need to understand the tech. I know what I want it to look like, so I would kind of direct.
But you know what you want it to look like. That's really important. You know that because of video games. You know that because of films, right? Am I right? Am I wrong? Tell me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, like, I suppose I kind of enjoyed it from that moment, like kind of doing video collaborations and screen dance at London Contemporary Dance School. And then when I graduated, I was just dancing and I was focusing on that. And then it was a few years later, when I joined Wayne in 2017, that I was like, you know what, actually, off my own money, off my own back, I want to create a dance film.
Yeah.
And I had a fabulous dancer, Jemima Brown, and another fabulous dancer, Lisa Rowley.
Yeah.
And I created a very tempestuous duet. And yeah, it was nice to kind of have an idea that could be also for stage, but just know how I would want it to look. And I had this specific part in this film where I remember saying to a longtime collaborator of mine, Ray Moody, who's fantastic, like 20 years in the biz, like shot Madonna's Frozen music video, you know, when the crows come out of her body and it's dramatic. Yeah, delightful.
Yes.
Yeah. But he's fantastic and he's very kind of chill. He's like, yeah, what do you want to do? How do you want to make it work? And I was like, I want this specific section because they look quite similar at the time, Jemima and Lisa. And I was like, I want this state of illusion. So I want a swinging light bulb and I want you to figure out the aperture for me. You figure that out. I was like, that's your job. And I was like, we'll swing the light bulb from above and then in the edit, we'll cross it so they're dancing and this light's going crazy. But then, you know, as the light swings out and the screen goes to darkness, as it swings back in, it's Lisa. And then as it swings again, it's Jemima.
Yeah.
And it's like, so there's this understanding of perspective and unsure who it is.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you wouldn't really be able to do that on stage, but you could do that for screen. And I enjoyed the understanding that you could do that in the edit.
Yeah.
And create something different for screen.
I mean, the screen dance tangent for me would be this. So this year, it's the first time producing the Messham's Dance Film Festival in Wiltshire. It's a beautiful barn. It's happening on 23rd of July for anyone who wants to go. Tickets available. But what's important for me, I had to kind of boil it down. I think there's three key aspects to this. So one is choreography. You know, a lot of people, when they get to screen, they exit the choreography. And these ideas for, you know, big set pieces and technology are great. But at its core, will it be a dance film?
Right.
The second thing is then the cinematography. How do you collaborate in a way that a person used to working with camera can understand and move towards your movement, basically? And then the third thing is the dancing. You know, it's very difficult, as you know, a film set, you might be called in first thing in the morning and then have to dance last thing in the evening. The dancing matters. It's still got to be good dancing, even if it's got, you know, what was it, Madonna getting attacked by crows or whatever it was?
The crows just appearing and she opens her arms and they go
right,
in
okay.
slow motion.
So she's giving birth to crows.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it.
But then the dancing would still need to be kind of up there. So for me, those are the three core elements. Do you struggle with any one of those elements? Like,
no.
Oh, well, there you go.
No, because I love it all. Like, I really I love it all. Like, you know, like, there's no struggle when you understand what you want. The struggle might be the understanding of trying to speak. I work with Ray for years now, and he's very, very good. You know, I say what I want, he makes it work, which I kind of enjoy. One thing I do understand is that I hate a static camera for dance.
I completely agree.
It absolutely eliminates the understanding of momentum and movement. And there's something about a steady cam sweeping action.
I mean, you've seen it in action. I can't, when I film, I have running all over
running
the place.
Around you. I'm like, get your trainers on.
Well, most people are like, oh, he does it on mobile and is you know, that's his specialty. But also, I don't think anyone would give me a proper camera. I know our podcast team today, Dan, yesterday when we were shooting your behind the scenes, I was like, can I have a go? Yes. And every single like stride I took in my sprint, I could feel him like, oh God,
like,
you know, because
it's a bit risky.
Thousands of pounds on this gimbal, you know, So that's where the collaboration is key.
My name is Stephen McRae. I'm a principal dancer with the Royal Ballet in London. The audience for Ballet Nights, I just hope that they take whatever it is that they want to take from my performance of Shardash. I never want to dictate to the audience what it is that they'll go away feeling or take away from my performances. When you're in a more intimate setting, you really do become one. You are right there, face to face with the audience. You can get your tickets for Ballet Nights autumn season at balletnights.com.
I mean, with screen, what does it bring you that maybe the other experiences don't?
Well, I suppose, like I just mentioned, how you can create compositionally. You can create things differently than you can on stage. Right? So it's that understanding that it makes me use my brain a little bit differently. and I enjoy that.
Does the audience, what do they get maybe from the screen experience they're not getting on the live experience? Or is it enhancing something maybe?
I don't think it's enhancing or taking away. I think they both bring something equally quite fantastic. I suppose you can feel quite engrossed within a short film. You know, it's quite immersive.
Yep.
And in live performance, you feel the energy of the room and why you want them to feel that way. Yeah, why you've chosen a lighting change and a musical change and like all this stuff, and it's to make them feel something within that moment. But you can do the exact same on screen.
Yeah.
But I find that people, like when you go to the cinema and you sit there for the 2 hours or whatever, 2.5 hours. I feel like films are getting super long now. But
are they?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. You need to sort of pitch a tent outside the screening room,
right.
and what's the fastest route to the toilets? That's the other one you've got to make sure. Yeah.
But that understanding is in like you're engrossed.
Yeah.
So, and you can be the same within screen dance, I find.
It's a universe, in other words. Yeah, I think it's an unexplored universe as well. I know there's many companies, like where I used to work at Scottish Ballet, have the most fantastic digital offer at the moment.
Right.
But more on that later. So, what I really wanted to ask you as well is screen, dance, choreography. We've also mentioned directing and touched on that as well.
Yeah.
What's your favourite part? Choices.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, choreography just in general. It doesn't matter if it's a screen or stage. I've danced for years now. It's not that I'm getting bored of it. I love dancing. But
And we're not bored of watching it, which is why you're performing in the show.
I appreciate that. But yeah, I suppose, like in anyone's life, you've done something for a long period of time. I've toured the world. I've done what I feel like I need to do with my body. Also, my body's getting older, and it takes me a longer time to warm up now. It's kind of, getting to that age, and I love watching other people work with my tasks or work with my movement and put it on their body, and me seeing my vision come to life on other people and just being able to sit and watch because something can be in your mind for a year before you're actually creating on stage, right?
Maybe in your mind, I've struggled to focus on any one thing. To be honest, this podcast is going really well because you've given me like 50 ideas for 50 new shows. But yeah.
But it's interesting, because I feel like I've got a book by the side of my bed and it's got all my creative ideas in.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll wake up and if I've thought of it, I'm like, I need to write it down. Otherwise, I don't know if I'm going to remember it.
Yeah.
And then ideas start to flesh out.
Yeah.
When collaborators come along that you're like, they would be good for this idea, right? Or when you get funding, which is very rare at the moment, but when you get funding,
well, not really. But I mean, I feel like you are in some funding right now.
Yeah, right. But as in like, when it comes along, it's like, your world's your oyster.
I think it's the criteria that isn't clear as well. I think that there's so many messages that are being pushed and, those messages come with different funding asks. And how do we, you've already got to learn to dance, you're choreographing all this stuff, and then you've got to navigate the kind of business aspect. This is where I think Ballet Nights could do great things because it could kind of say, well, our audience wants to see X. Would you be able to create X for us? I think that's where a sort of audience-led commissioning process comes from. So
it's
I think
a rare avenue. I don't know if anyone's doing that.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because without an audience, you're just in a vacuum. And I feel like audiences are the other star in the room. You have audiences that scream and shout, audiences that cry. Sometimes you have audiences that just sit there and say thank you next. But like Ariana Grande. See, I know that one. Yeah, I mean, so moving on to Ballet Nights, really, you were in the room with two other Ballet Night stars the other day, so Melissa Hamilton and Gareth Hall.
Yes.
And I was going to say this is all a coincidence, but you reminded me that they wouldn't all be there if it wasn't for you. So
I did remind you.
Yeah, so you were really good. Jordan was great at kind of suggesting who we should be talking to and what was coming up. And you have this very exciting duet. Do you want to plug it for us and let us know all about it? Because we're very, very excited to be bringing that to our spring season.
Yes, I'm really excited too. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah, it's a part of that I've created on Melissa Hamilton and Gareth Hall. It's called In Her Rapture.
Oh, okay.
It's to a fantastic electric guitar solo track by Funkadelic called Maggot Brain. And that track's around 9.5 minutes, but we're using around 5.5 minutes of that track.
Right.
But there's something really beautiful about using their bodies, that are very classically trained, and seeing them move slightly differently through space to to kind of something that's used typically for rock, you know. It's like
Yeah.
you don't really coincide the two together. And I know it sounds kind of cliche, but there's something quite beautiful specifically about this track.
Well, I know, like, because there are previews out there. You've dropped some drone footage. You know, of course,
Right.
Jordan's flying a drone around the Opera House
Right,
studio.
Andre
Everyone else is doing cameras. He's trying to, like, 3D mapping. But
Yeah.
But I feel like one of the things I noticed, I said to you immediately, is, at different stages, they kind of embody the music. I was like, Melissa's the guitar in a way. Is that right? Is that how you feel it's
Yeah,
going?
absolutely. Yeah, of course.
I'm not
Everything's
completely
intentional.
saying the wrong thing about it. It's
No,
actually about apples, Jamiel. Like, you know, I don't want to...
No, it's intentional. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I had in my mind, and kind of this understanding as well that costume-wise, quite stripped back. Not, you know, Pulp Fiction.
Yes, the first one I definitely know.
So, you know, the dance scene, right? And she's got this black bob and she's got this white shirt and it's black like slacks, right? Like trousers.
Yeah.
And we're not going to have the black trousers, but this idea of kind of
Well,
something
not with
that's
Melissa's
stripped back.
incredible figure, yeah.
Well, the legs are out.
The legs
The
got to be
legs are
out every time.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes. But I wanted to kind of also costume it in that understanding. So it's like this like 80s kind of punk vibe,
Yeah.
you know, and this kind of stripped back element rather than give like, even though that's like what they're wearing, rather than give a costume, it's like, no, let's strip it back. And, you know, her hair isn't in a bun, it's in a low pony, and it's very, it's quite sensual, the duet.
I feel like, you know, we're going to see so many sides to Melissa. We're very lucky to have her performing twice in the show. And with Gareth, we're going to get him, you know, dancing David Dawson in what's a UK premiere of
Exciting.
Metamorphosis 1. Let's talk about you. I want to hear about what you're going to be doing. So you're a double commission for Ballet Nights. Let's talk about the first one of those. So in our September show, you'll be performing a new solo. And kind of riffing off the music thing, riffing. We've partnered with Erase Tape Records so that we could bring you the artist you wanted to work with, which was Rival Consoles.
Yes.
Tell us about that solo, tell us about the track, and tell us about why Rival Consoles is so important for that work.
So Ryan from Rival Consoles, I mean, his music is fantastic. Very complex, very detailed, but so much depth and quality within there. And I find that that's what I try and find in a movement medium, right, with my own stuff. Always been inspired by his creations. In my creative processes, I've always had his music on in the background to kind of inspire me. And I am going to be creating to his track Recovery.
Yeah, which is the track. I mean, I was saying the other day, I knew in the track selection, there was some I recognised and whatever, and I knew Recovery already. But I remember looking on Spotify yesterday and going, oh, it's the first returning, it's the track. So you'll be making a solo to the track, in other words. And
It's
I know
exciting.
Rival Consoles are as excited, Erase Tapes are very excited.
Well, I think I'm more excited.
Are you, I was going to say, or are you just blasé, like, yeah, no problem.
No, but it's, super great for me to kind of create a solo for myself. And to be honest, when I choreograph, I rarely do that. I like to create on other bodies. So it's actually nice to give myself time and, you know, focus on that.
My team and I, we need you out there. We want people to see this mode of movement. I really think it's unique and not common. And I think that, you know, our audiences for the September show, first they get to see you dance, and then when they come to the October show, they hear your voice in a sort of slightly more indirect way. You know, what's the word? Channeled through another body.
Right.
So your second work is also a new commission.
Yes.
And I know we haven't even landed on a music choice yet for that, which is exciting. Hurry up, no, I'm kidding. But you'll be working with Constance Devernay-Laurence, who is, of course, my wife.
Yes.
And former principal of Scottish Ballet and now working in screen, which is obviously another area you're familiar with. You actually arrived at the idea of Constance before I did. You kind of said, is she available and can I do something? And you're not the only one. But you were the one that really formulated the idea of working with her, the point shoes, the body. Like, what is it that's kind of made you say, I want that one?
Athleticism.
There you go.
Yeah,
One word answer.
Quite simple. But no, watching her in Coppelia at Scottish Ballet, you know.
Oh, Jess and Morg's new ballet for Scottish Ballet.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Like,
amazing.
Really, really fantastic. I loved it so much.
Stage and screen all at the same time.
All at the same time.
I don't think that's a spoiler.
Yeah, no,
I think that's in their
some
promo.
pre-recorded, some, you know, in the moment.
No,
I
that
love
might
it.
be a spoiler. I don't know. But yeah, and they're really close friends of yours too.
Yes,
I guess.
yeah.
You danced with Jess a long time.
Jess, right. Yeah,
Okay.
because she was in Company Way McGregor with me for years.
Right. So
Yeah.
did they talk about Constance, I guess, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. But me watching her on stage, just outrageous. Like really, really like athletic, super strong, super powerful. And I was like, oh, opportunity to create on another body, a solo on point, because I've created now a pas de deux on point.
Right. Okay. Is that
So
the
it's
first solo on point then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, which is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm always up for like new things all the time. You know, it's like risky, but also not risky. It's like,
Yeah.
we know we can do it, so why not?
Yeah, well, it's like your fabulous boots. They're risky, but they're not risky.
They're risky, but not risky.
They're not risky.
They're quite fab, aren't they?
Because they work.
They're quite fab.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I have 3 core questions that I always ask.
Yes.
And because you've got 2 works, you know, let's just generalize for your work in general. But with the Jordan Bridge work in general, what are you trying to say?
It's not necessarily that I'm trying to say something specific, but more so that I want people and the audience to feel. I want them to feel something. I want them to come and not necessarily, it's not a narrative. You know, my work's never narrative, it's abstract, but...
Jordan Bridge's Cinderella.
but you would take something away from it, I'm sure, you know, right? Because we as humans are obsessed with putting a story, even when stories are not there, right? So intentionally, behind the creative process, I can have my own internalized understanding of what I want it to say.
Yeah.
But it might read differently to you, and I'm at peace with that. You know, I'm at peace with that. I think take my work for what it is, but I do know that there's this understanding with just me as a person, which comes through in my work a lot. There's like this sensuality, rebellion, escapism. All these words, they kind of encompass like what I feel about myself when I put myself in a room and I move.
Yeah.
And, you know, in terms of trajectory of like movement and how I move, primal, animalistic, alien, you know, anything other than human. I don't know.
We wouldn't want to do that.
Well, more so just because, you know...
We want to transform. I mean, I agree with you. It's transforming the atmosphere beyond, oh, that's a human being doing that. But look at this superhuman, you know.
That's why I want people to kind of come observe and go, that's why I paid for a ticket to watch Jordan Bridge dance.
Well, and they'll be seeing it closer than you can see it anywhere, but at the same time without the compromise because of the massive stage that we're sat on. Like no one knows which element of the stage we're on. It's that big for this podcast.
Yeah.
If you're sitting in those stage side seats and your feet are literally, you know, on the stage, touching the stage, what's that going to bring to the solo you're creating?
Well, I mean, when you're so close to a dancer in the space anyway, when you can hear their breathing and almost like you feel engrossed, you feel like you're sat on the stage, you know, it's quite exciting, you know, for anybody that's dancing. I mean, we're talking about, you know, this solo that I'm going to be creating on myself and me performing in that space, you know, this space here right now. But yes, I feel like...
Because they're right there.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, you know, they're going to be right on the stage, like right on the edge of it. But I feel like it makes them feel a part of it. It breaks that fourth wall, that understanding of, I've paid for a ticket, I watch you, you leave. You know, it's going to kind of break that wall. I'm not sure how it's going to...
Well, you'll be meeting them afterwards as well, as, you know,
exactly,
at the backstage
you know,
pass. So
and that's very different. It's nice. I think it's important, you know. Also, people that are interested in the arts or, you know, that will be coming to watch ballet nights, they don't get the opportunities to meet the artists that they usually watch on stage.
Yeah.
So, you know, moments like this podcast, you know, backstage, being able to meet dancers afterwards, sitting so close to dancers, it kind of gives you a little bit of a more personal insight to who they are as people as well, which then can give an indication of how you receive them and what they've put on stage.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think about it, it's quite exciting actually what you're saying, because I think about it like this. You know, I remember reading the article about there's a Royal Ballet who I love, and there's a Royal Opera who I also love, you know, Opera House. But there's also an English National Ballet who I love too, and there's an English National Opera who I love. But then this article was kind of implying, well, if we've got one, why do we need the other? How many football stadiums are there in London? right?
Right.
That's literally the number one comparison I make. And how many football players, when I was in the dressing room at Scottish Ballet, these guys knew more about football than I know about anything, I think, in life. Probably when I have a child, they'll still know more about football than I know about the child. Like, I mean, I remember my friend Andy Peasgood, he could name every player, not just what they're playing or where they're playing or how they're playing, but like where they've been signed, how they have been feeling about their contract. Are they looking like they might want to move? I know there's an audience, so it's not an if. I can see them out there. Like the Ballet Co Forum is a good example. They really want to be on that journey with you. They want to know what Jordan's making and how's he feeling at the moment. And maybe that's why his work looks like this now. And then in a few years and, you know, different commissions, whatever, that's why it looks like that now. So yeah, I mean, I'm really with you on that stuff. This does lead us kind of naturally into the second question, so you might be repeating yourself a little bit, but my second big question always is, what is the audience invite? Why would an audience feel invited to come and see your work?
To be honest, it is pretty similar to the other answer. You know, it is, you know.
Yeah, but if they come across a Jordan Bridge poster one day, or they see the Ballet Nights poster and you're on it, or even if they see this podcast or your promo yesterday, you know, the behind the scenes, what about that do you feel an audience will respond to?
Well, I suppose, like, even though each concept is different, and maybe the collaborators are going to be different over the years, you know, as the pool kind of opens for me, and I want to work with other people and want to bring people together, right? My work will always be physically charged.
Yeah.
You know, because that's a bit of me. That's like, you know, how I like to move. So I suppose, like, they can expect to kind of see that on stage.
Talk to us, like, when you say physically charged, for those that maybe aren't as familiar with dance, what's physically charged mean?
Well, I suppose quite athletic. You know, that's why I'm excited to work on Constance.
I think that, you know, the third question is always the pie in the sky, and I don't know if I prepared you for this one, but what is the work going to do? What I mean by that is, 5 years from now, what's the big Jordan Bridge production?
Ooh, big one.
I've guessed it, Beauty and the Beast. No, I'm kidding.
Not for me.
No.
So actually, this duet that I created recently with original music by Valgeir Sigurdsson, fantastic Icelandic composer, genius in fact, kind of electronic and classical merge, and I love that. I suppose kind of similar to a John Hopkins, rival consoles, like that's a genre that I love, you know. But the piece is called Other. I'm hoping to get it programmed, I think, you know, with Rebecca Bassett-Graham and Ailey Muir. It's a duet that I created based on H.R. Giger's work, you know, Swiss artist who was the art director for Aliens, Ridley Scott's Aliens. So the whole idea of the xenomorph, and not taking that as a narrative story, but it's quite commercial understanding. A lot of people have seen the Alien franchise, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love sci-fi. I mean, a piece I did last year. I mean, I don't think, for those listening, I don't think science fiction is something that's been taken to the nth degree yet in dance. I think there's a lot of historical stories, a lot of current stories, and there's kind of a future genre, but that's kind of different to science fiction. My huge inspiration for a lot of things I want to make in the future would be the Dune series, especially the way Denis Villeneuve's gone. So yeah, a sci-fi, when you talk about aliens, of course, everything in that film, from the aliens to the doorways to the
I think it's outrageous, the layer and, you know, the black kind of like layer. It's like ribbed. It's like the xenomorph's rib cage. Like that is what the layer looks like. But so, I mean, you can create set design from that. You can create costume from that. I mean, this is, I'm giving too much away. I'm giving too much away because if people take this idea, I'll be fuming.
No, I mean, you will be creating set design from that. Let's call it that.
But then I don't want to take, like, yes, that's a story. It's a film. But I want to take the idea of transformation. So I don't know how we would do that. Yeah, I need to figure it out. But this understanding of like human to other, and that's why the piece is Other, right? Yeah. So this duet that's around 12 minutes that I created on these dancers that were dancing with me in Company Way McGregor.
Okay.
I want to expand this and make it into a full length work.
I mean, when you're in the company, I guess, you know, when I was in the company, the first dancers I got to make work with were the ones that I was, you know, the ones that would stay in their lunch times, stay after work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if we were given space, you know, they would say, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, also so appreciative because, you know, like we're just there and we're willing to help each other.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here. I could get the list out without them, basically. Yeah. So I mean, you've kind of hit the nail on the head, really. How do you feel about those collaborative partners? Do you think they'll come with you?
I'm not sure about coming with me because obviously, like, you know, it's wherever they're going, whatever they're going off to do, you know. And also because it's interesting actually, because we all dance for Wayne, we have at the moment a similar understanding of like how to move, right? So me trying to find my own voice in my own right, you know, yeah, it was interesting working with them because they're absolutely outrageous dancers, and I loved working with them. But at the same time, trying to find my own niche, it was difficult to get it across.
Yeah, I mean,
know?
who are the dancers? Who are the dancers you don't get to? Like, so you're saying these are the ones you know, and you want to go to these other ones. Who are these other ones?
I'm not sure as of yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not
Are they
sure
hip hop dancers? Are they ballet dancers?
Contemporary dancers. But I think maybe from a different background. I want to explore. Actually, I want to explore with many different bodies anyway, and how my practice would look on their body. Right. And I think that's only normal, you know, or should be if you want to create in the future. I think it's, you know, a way to kind of expand your understanding of how your work can be seen on another body.
Well, when you don't have backing and you don't have funding as well, you kind of, you work with what's in front of you, and what is in front of you can be great. But what happens when that's gone, it's kind of what happened with Constance, really. I said to you, who would you like to work with? And you're like, is your wife available? She's in the other room. Let me just, are you busy?
I was like, get her on the blower.
Yeah, I'll just, And she was like, no, I'm not, let's go for it. You know, I mean, yeah, she's always going to say, yes, for sure. Interesting. So to be decided who those people are.
Yeah.
The Jordan Bridge Company, if there was to be one.
Jordan
there is
Bridge
one.
Dance, yeah. Well, there is one. Slowly, we're getting it there, you know. But I do see that as a future and a legacy that I would like to continue. And I would still continue to create stuff for screen. I would still continue to create stuff for stage. And also, hopefully, have workshops happening regularly so then people can come and understand the practice. And I can also learn a bit more about my practice and what I want to say and deepen that as the years progress.
What would you say? Well, what would you say to, you know, the young Jordan that had the unusual way into dance? I'm sure there's many young Jordans right now out there who have reached 14, and, you know, in ballet school, a lot of people have gone aged 11, 12, sent off, as you said, to the abyss. To these amazing institutions. But what would you say to the young Jordan if they're listening now and maybe they've had that first class and their teacher said, I think you should really take this seriously? What would you want to say to yourself in that position?
You did that. You're doing that. Yeah, because I mean, to be honest, like, you know, starting off late, didn't have people around me that dance, you know, in terms of my family. My mum and dad, I remember, were quite nervous because they were like, we don't know anything about it, but we know it's a difficult career. So I remember my mum saying,
well, they got that right.
Yeah, you know, I remember my mum saying, you know, you're gonna have to work your butt off. So whatever you got to do, make sure you're killing yourself. You know, essentially, because she was like, you'll have nothing to fall back on, right? Because I went to college and she was like, maybe you want to do, you know, a business A level alongside BTEC, and I went, no, I just want to dance. Stubborn me. You know?
Well, I mean, you've gone into that company life as well. It's a very exciting and unusual company, the Studio Wayne McGregor.
Just to interrupt as well, sorry, but also when I was 17, that was the dream company. So
oh really?
Yeah,
so you made it happen.
I wanted to dance for Wayne like since I was 17.
Okay.
I wanted to dance for Wayne, and I auditioned once, and I made it to the final. I didn't get the job.
Okay.
And I remember saying to them, I was like, "Oh, I'll see you next year." You know, and it was this like determined energy where I was like, I want to work with him and experience his cerebral way of working, and I want to experience that. You know, yeah, and I want to dance for him. I want to dance his works. They're fantastic. You know, one of the most influential choreographers of now. You know,
yeah. Well, now is the word. It's all. You know? Things that are happening now. And funny because like in your work, there's also technology. There's also the idea of now. We're not going to the kind of old style lights and all of that. Although you could probably explore that at some point. You're thinking sci-fi, video games. What was your first games console?
Ooh, Sega Mega Drive 2.
Was it? Oh, you were all the way back there.
Yeah, I was playing Streets of Rage, not Street Fighter. Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage.
Bum, 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 bum. I remember the track. Oh my god.
Streets of Rage. You're copywriting that for you as well. That's another ballet you're going to make. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to think for me because there's Sega Saturn, but before that, I think I had the SNES.
SNES?
Yeah, but then my
delightful.
rich friend, he had the N64, and I used to love the cartridges and all that.
You mean when it didn't work and you have to blow it?
Yeah. Well, there is that. Gone to a different podcast now, really. It's now time to do our 6 random questions to celebrate our 6 opening shows of Ballet Nights. Do you see what I did there?
Yeah, I did.
So I'm
Love
going to
it.
lean over and get the mystery jar, currently sponsored by no one, the IKEA
jingle.
of it all, and you're going to select 6 of these.
Oh my goodness. 6, one at a time. Or 6.
Okay, so we did it. Do you know, before we do these, we should probably introduce Darcy.
She's fab.
So Darcy, who's posed by all of our guests, is currently in what are we calling that? A twisting, sliding...
Jump.
Okay, a twisting, sliding
Jump.
jump. Yeah, are you
I'm
happy
trying
with
to
that? Because
reenact.
we're going to get a picture of that, and that's for life.
Yeah, I love
Okay.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
why not? I think she's fierce. Do you not?
Darcy's very versatile,
very,
clearly.
clearly.
That's not the kind of work I'd known her for.
Well, she doesn't have any turnout here. You took that away.
Well, maybe that's the next commission. Okay, hit us with the first question.
Okay, so if you could live in any fictional world, which one would you choose?
So hoping you get that one.
I am a big fan of Final Fantasy, and I do think I would live in any of them, to be honest, because they all change.
There's quite a few.
Well, I'm playing Final Fantasy 16 at the moment on my PS5. I wouldn't be in that world, actually. Maybe a Final Fantasy 9 or Final Fantasy 10. I think I'd be in them worlds. Yeah.
I mean, it's not my question, but I'm going to say
I'd be a summoner as well.
Well, it's not very specific.
Yeah, very specific.
What does a summoner do?
They bring these like huge creatures from like a different realm that kind of fight alongside you. But I'd be the one to bring them. Do you know what I mean?
I think at this point, our listeners are probably like, yeah, of course you would. Of course, babes.
Well, I'm not going to be immersion.
Yeah. Right, I have to ask the questions. Give me number 2. Here we go. Question number 2. What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? This is on a podcast as well. I'm going to enjoy this. Let's call it on stage.
On stage, I fell.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I fell. We were doing autobiography. I can't believe I even know the exact place. That's because of how embarrassed I was. We were in Helsinki. I can't remember which festival it was at, but we were in Helsinki.
Well, that's a good bit. I mean, that's pretty fabulous so far.
Yeah, no, it's not bad at all, right? We're on tour. We're in Helsinki. We were doing autobiography. And, I mean, it's a very brutal show. It's very intense. And we all sweat a lot.
Okay.
And there was this bit where I'm laid down on the floor and there was a puddle of sweat. And I went away. I think I went stage right and I was dancing. And as I came stage left, I slipped and I had hold of someone. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Jailer at the time. And I slipped and my knee just went on the floor, but I let go and I completely face planted it. But you know when you're in the moment and you just spring back up like you've never, you know, like it's like if you fall in the street, and it's like you trip and then all of a sudden you're tying your laces.
You don't want anyone to see.
It's like your body just goes, oh, let's not do that. You know, it was like hit the ground and get back up. But I remember being so embarrassed because the dancers also were laughing at me whilst we were dancing on stage.
I mean, the closest thing to that for me would be David Dawson's work. We did Swan Lake, and to me, to do his work badly was like absolute sin. So I was always under this personal pressure, and I did a C-turn and I fell and hit the floor. And I've never, people to this day, like I've got it somewhere recorded, spring back up like against gravity to make it happen. I think it's one of those things, isn't it? On stage, you're trying to maintain the illusion, the feeling, the idea of the choreographer, the way you want to present yourself as an artist.
But also, it's interesting because you're in that realm of performing and wanting to show something, and then when you get taken out of it, it's dramatic, right?
The unthinkable. Okay, next question.
Okay.
Bet my editor's watching like, oh no, I'm going to have to sort all this out. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Do they have to be dead?
Well, if they're historical...
There's people that are alive that are historical.
Fine. Let's go with it. I'm scared to argue with you on anything. I don't know.
No, this is going to be hilarious. Is David Attenborough dead?
David? No, he's not.
I want
He's
I
not
want
right.
dinner.
He's not. No, he's.
I want
still
dinner with him. I want to be with them.
Okay, David, if you're listening, Jordan's coming for you to bring his creatures from his other question into the. Yeah.
I would just love it.
Well, it sounds like
Just
Carnival
very
of the Animals to
knowledgeable,
me.
Very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And also, like the way he speaks, you know, in an undiscovered location. It's very like that, and I would just love.
He talks like a cave troll.
You know, he talks like that. I would love it.
Okay,
How
I knew
exciting.
impressions would make it on. Next up.
Okay.
This is like Christmas. I have quite pretty weird Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favourite word in the English language? Was that it?
No.
PFT.
Is it even a word, or is it like a northern saying? But I love the word gammy.
Gammy.
You know when they're like, "Oh, you got a gammy leg."
Well,
I've got a gammy leg at the
I think
moment.
I've got some. I need to. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's your favourite. You got to say it into the mic. Give us some ASMR.
Gammy.
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 Okay. All right. We'll take
I love
it.
that. Gammy.
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 Yeah.
Gammy. Gammy.
Gammy.
Yeah.
I think she
It's just
auditioned.
'cause it's really weird.
Did Gammy audition for it? No, right. Next one.
It's a really weird word.
Okay. I can tell everyone in the room is just looking forward to these from now on. Get to the good bit. If you could have any animal as a pet, what would you choose? I'm going to make a guess here and hold it in my mind, and I hope it's, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I know it sounds so basic. I've really always wanted a dog. Now, when you say any animal,
Yeah.
do you mean that it's tamed?
Well, that's not really specified in the question, but I can get our
No,
researchers.
because you know when sometimes I've seen memes and like people have got like they're living with like tigers.
Oh, right. So you want to Mike Tyson it?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to say reptiles. I was expecting you to be like a vampire bat or something.
No.
No, just
No,
a fluffy dog.
No, I feel like I'm the Slytherin within the space.
Okay,
You know,
right.
like that's like my thing. But yeah, like a tiger or a lion or something.
I said I'd get
it
you
could be
moving in
tamed.
that chair.
But I feel like I'd get eaten.
I said I'd get you moving in that chair. I didn't think it'd be animals that would lead us there, but okay. Okay, so you're having a nice fluffy... Is it a big dog or a small dog?
What are the... what would I want? I think a boxer.
Oh, okay.
They're very cute.
You are really
Very
like a hard
cute.
man to me
Well,
anyway.
they're cute. No, they're not that bad. It sounds...
Is that this one? Like the...
No, that's like a pit bull, innit?
Oh, okay. I think that's
yeah,
what
no, a boxer. I think a boxer. They're quite beautiful, like brown and white.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get you one of those. A
Yeah.
boxer for Jordan, please.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's your rider for the show. Okay, are we on to the last one?
We are.
Drum roll, drum roll. Oh, okay. What's the weirdest food combination you've ever tried?
Is it that weird though? Because I feel like people are going to say, "Oh, I do that too." Dunking your McDonald's chips in a McFlurry.
Dancers only eat the most robust, carefully thought out.
Lies. You never tell so much.
I absolutely agree with you. So you're taking the chips in McDonald's and you're putting them in your McFlurry.
When they're hot, yeah. And then when you eat it, it tastes like a Krispy Kreme.
I mean, yeah.
I've not done it for years, but it's the weirdest thing that
That's
I've tried.
it. Walk it back now. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Last weekend.
Last week,
yeah.
yeah.
After a night out.
No, but honestly, like it's like the weirdest thing, and I've not done it for years. But I remember like someone, I can't remember who told me this, but I was like, no, surely not. And I was like, that's disgusting. And then when I tried it, I was like, you know, the meme of the woman that she drinks kombucha and she goes, no, and then she goes, well, it was kind of like that. It was kind of like that.
Yeah, I will give it a try, and that's the only time I've ever been to McDonald's.
Lies.
Yeah.
Liza Minnelli.
Well, interestingly, my ex-director would regularly catch me eating at McDonald's on tour. I think I got a bad reputation for bad food, but then I went 6 years vegan, so it was all fine in the end. I think it should balance it out.
You brought it back.
Probably doesn't work like that, yeah. Okay, so, you know, Jordan, obviously, we've heard so much from you today that I think isn't regularly available. Before we go, we'd just love to hear where we can find out more about you. Where can we see you? What's the best place to reach you? Hit us with the socials, hit us with the websites.
Amazing. So you can find me at Jordan J. Bridge on Instagram. Don't have TikTok. I feel like I'm a little bit too old for that. But on Instagram, my link tree is attached to my Instagram as well. So that's the link in my bio. So you can find upcoming workshops, classes, all of that jazz. Even some screen dance stuff will be on there soon. And my website, www.jordanbridgedance.co.uk.
Perfect. I know that me, my audience, my team here right now, we can't wait to see what you're going to do at Ballet Nights 1 and Ballet Nights 2.
Yes.
And of course, everybody, you can get your tickets for Ballet Nights at balletnights.com. Can't wait to see you on the next episode.